Is Kureiji Ollie Indonesia's most effective diplomat? No, of course not. That is a ridiculous idea. However, Kureiji Ollie and the other members of Hololive might be a far more effective force for Indonesian public diplomacy would expect. As I wrote this script, there are protests and strife in Indonesia over government corruption and the unfortunate deaths of some innocent people. I hope everyone will be safe and secure, and that the underlying problems that led to this violence will be resolved to the betterment of all. Support for our C siblings. This video is strongly based on the paper Digital Diplomacy, Hololive Indonesia and a virtual YouTuber as Indonesia's new public diplomacy by Gustave, Gallennius and Salsabila, Andi, Akil. I may have got those names tragically wrong. I am greatly apologetic for that. A full citation and link is in the description. Any good ideas in this video are most likely theirs, and any mistakes or bad ideas are most likely from me or from my misunderstanding of the papers. In the brilliant paper that I am going to be shamelessly adapting, it explores exactly this issue, the issue of Hololive members and their impact on public diplomacy. But before I discuss that, I'm going to have to introduce a few terms. The first one is soft power, in contrast with hard power. Hard power is a diplomatic power that comes from military might, a government's ability to use violence to force another government to comply. Soft power is power that comes from cultural ties and personal influence. To explain it, I'm going to reuse an analogy I've previously used. Imagine a homeowners association, which wants to make sure that everybody's house under its authority has a well-maintained garden. They could arrange block parties, a night market every fortnight, a kids' arts competition, and all sorts of other social tedium that is intended to make you think positively of the homeowners association so that you'll do what they want you to do. This is an example of soft power. Alternatively, the homeowners association could drive a main battle tank down the road and demand you garden or else. That would be hard power. In broader senses, soft power is getting cooperation from another country by encouraging will towards your country. This could be by sponsoring cultural events, providing assistance during emergencies, exporting entertainment, stuff like that. In games like Civilization and other 4X games, soft power is your cultural victory. They are the things that make people, and perhaps more importantly, the leaders of those people, to think favourably of your country. The goodwill that can ease the creation of trade deals and the trust that is required for military cooperation. Embassies will often sponsor events in other countries in order to promote their countries to the decision makers of others. Soft power diplomacy is also why the People's Republic of China loans pandas to zoos, while hard power diplomacy would be driving an armoured division into the capital of that country. So to sum up, pandas, soft. Panzers, hard. Another key concept we'll be introducing is new public diplomacy. Conventional public diplomacy is a more top-down affair, starting at the top and having the government broadcasting its vision to the public. Shortwave radio, TV broadcasts, print media, and the like. Big traditional media. By contrast, the new public diplomacy is more like treating a country's image as its brand and using the tools of brand marketing. What can be effective at promoting Nintendo and McDonald's can also be effective at promoting Japan and the US. Indeed, the two go hand in hand. The efforts of corporations to promote themselves also as a byproduct promotes the country that they are associated with. Rather than being totally top-down, the new public diplomacy is more about peer-to-peer connections between non-government entities, so often with government support. It's about creating bonds between people and connections, shifting away from hierarchical-like structures to something more networked and mesh-like. To understand why this is important for Indonesia, we have to look at its place in the world. Here is the Southeast Asian area, often called C. We have countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, and Timor-Leste. But strangely enough, not Papua New Guinea. If we zoom out a bit, in the expanded area, we see the Chinas, the Koreas, Japan, the US territory of Guam, Russia, Mongolia, and Australia. In this area, there are representatives of 3 superpowers and a whole heap of points of potential conflict. When elephants fight, it is the ground that suffers. And this entire area is elephant ground. In some cases, quite literally, since this is the habitat of many elephant subspecies, including the Borneo pygmy elephant. Look at this cutie! One of the key ways of not getting stomped on is to make yourself known. Many countries within this region have embarked on soft power public diplomacy campaigns, both to ensure their own safety if conflict does break out, and also to encourage trade and further their other national interests. Always Informative Moon Channel has talked about in length about Japan and South Korea's soft power projections. Japan via anime, J-pop, gaming and tourism. South Korea via K-pop, K-drama and gaming as well. The folks at Wendover Productions have talked about how Thailand is using its food and restaurants as a part of gastro diplomacy, another effort at soft power projection. There are also subtle forms of soft power projection as through OFW, Overseas Filipino Worker Program, acting as a person-to-person projection of soft power. And now we return to the star of this video. Indonesia, population-wise, it has 285 million people, making it the 4th most populous country, just a little bit after US's 347 million. East to west, it is wider than the US, and it's also wider than Europe, home to over 700 languages. And it has the largest economy on a total GDP basis in C. As an aside, I'm using Indonesia's GDP in this argument rather than GDP per capita because Southeast Asia has a few anomalies for GDP per person. Singapore, which is basically a container port with a seat on the UN, and Brunei, whose economic power comes because it's sitting atop 1.1 billion barrels of crude oil. Anyway, Indonesia is unquestionably an important nation on the world stage, but has often found itself ignored. One of the core aspects of new public diplomacy is treating a country like a brand. And the first step in marketing a brand is brand awareness. Just making people aware that there's a place called Indonesia is a massive step forward, especially for a US audience. But it goes beyond just pure awareness. Consider the 2024 Indonesian folk music medley that Hololive put out. In part, medley was to promote Indonesia Day and the Indonesian motto of unity in diversity. It reflects this both in a musical sense, by being a medley of folk songs from various islands and cultures within Indo. It is a unification of those diverse songs into a single song, and the music video also reinforces this by having the girls start dressed in a typical school uniform of an Indonesian high school student, showing them to be unified in their uniform, and then having them change into traditional clothing from each of the cultures reflecting Indonesia's diversity. Moreover, every stream that Indonesian VTubers perform is an opportunity for viewers to become emotionally invested with both the VTuber and the VTuber's country and the interests of Indonesia. Soft power being the expression of a country's power through cultural and personal ties. You have the new public diplomacy working on non-government entities, bringing more personal interrelationships. And we have Hololive acting as a prominent nexus in there because they are reaching out to a lot of non-Indonesian people and promoting Indonesia to them. I hope this video was quite informative. And if so, why don't you watch one of my other videos to learn more about other subjects? Thank you very much, and I hope to see you later. Goodbye.